zochitika ndi madaphiri kamlondola wa zochitika pena paliponse.
Nduna wa zamalonda ku Malawi aletsa kampani yopanga shuga ya Ilovo yomwe ndi nthambi ya Ilovo Sugar Group Limited kuti isiye kutumiza shuga ku maiko akunja. Malingana ndi nduna ya zamalonda Vitumbuko Mumba, izi zithandiza kuti shuga yemwe yakusowa pamsika azipezeka.
When the sun goes down, we don't stop the talk. Channel Africa, the best nighttime radio.
Fire, 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 fire. It's your boy, Elvinho, eh. Like boy. Eh. Gringa, 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 eh. Fire, 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 fire. Baby, shake your waist. Get it, show me the way. Gringa, 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 eh. Fire, 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 fire. C'est pas du tout compliqué. Bouge le waist sur mon tempo. Baby, coco loco. I show you my coco loco. Dance color. You making me color. Hey, baby, coco loco. I show you my choco. Baby, do it my boy. Now dance my coco loco. Ah, coco loco. Ah, coco loco. On se fatigue pas, c'est du coco loco. Ah, coco loco. Oh yeah, ah, coco loco. Coco loco. Na patina hatu, coco loco. Coco loco. Ah, coco loco. De l'homme à baby, coco loco. Dancing, coco loco. USA to London, coco loco. Bass. Baka coco, give me vibe hot, eh. Sweetie face, original nyasho, eh. Fine girl, eh. Do that thing, do your thing, eh. Fine girl, do your thing, best. Oh yeah, baby coco loco. I show you my coco loco. Dance color. You making me color. Hey, baby coco loco. I show you my choco. Baby do it my boy. Now dance my coco loco. Ah, coco loco. Ah, coco loco. Naja baby, now dance my coco loco. Ah, coco loco. Oh yeah, ah, coco loco. Coco loco. Na patina hot do coco loco. Ibe, coco loco. Kenya baby, you kill him, coco loco. The bitch à Paris, coco loco. And dancing, my coco loco. Tanzania, Uganda, coco loco.
It is 6 minutes after 10 p.m. Central African Time. Rivino with this one titled Coco Loco. Before that, we had that one titled Sunlight to My Soul. This alongside the Soweto Gospel Choir. This is Heartlines. Shayla and Dikumana keeping you company, and I'm with you all the way through to, I was about to say another hour, till midnight in Central African Time. Listen, we are wrapping up the day together. Big thank you has to go out to the team of Africa World Hour. Catch them tomorrow. They keep you abreast with all things news. And of course, this in conversation with their highly esteemed guests. That is between 9 and 10 p.m. in Central African Time. As mentioned on Tsepiso's show, we spoke about men. Who is keeping men first? We speak a lot about the oppression of women and children, and rightfully so. But how are we creating structures to ensure that our African men are able to thrive, but not only thrive, continue to become great and continue to be those heads of the homestead? I think one theory that stands out for me is if you want to destroy a nation, destroy the homestead. Shake the room in the homestead, shake the house, make sure that men and women are not getting along, make sure that we think we're up against each other when in actual fact we're supposed to come together to build this continent, to make it greater, in actual fact to express how truly great we are as a populace. And so in the very first hour of the show, we're going to be looking at beyond breadwinners, the rise of the present father. I read somewhere that 75% of a study conducted showed that men are looking to be more present fathers, not just financially, but emotionally, physically wanting to engage with their children. And I found that very beautiful. And this is post-COVID stats. And so what stands out for me is the necessity to rebuild the homestead. That conversation in the very first hour. Then in the second hour of the show, we're going to be looking at supporting the boy child. Over 132 million boys globally are without school. And in South Africa, boys are more likely to drop out than girls. How do we change that? How do we repurpose structures so that we are creating environments that are safe for the boy child? These are the conversations that come your way this evening as we simmer down and wrap up the day that has been. In actual fact, tell me about that day. Was it good? Was it bad? Did you enjoy it? Find us on WhatsApp +27 6340 69126.
Ahoy, matey!
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us on a digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa 1. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa 1. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Muteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Heartlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni.
Tamengubene talks money. Africa in business. 4 till 5 p.m.
5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color.
Vue d'Afrique with Joel Muteba.
We go to Eastern Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m.
Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9.
We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia, 9 till 10.
14 minutes after 10 p.m. Central African Time. Wes, with that one titled Kekana, taking us to Cameroon. If you've just joined us, welcome to it. This is Heartlines, Shayla Ndikumana, and I'm not alone in studio. In actual fact, I believe that we have the official ambassador of Heartlines in studio. Heartlines, let me just read that correctly, the Center for Value Promotion. Sounds like what we're doing on the show today, this evening, I hope. Mr. Andile?
I think it is. I think we are well in step with each other.
That is the voice of Andile Maposa, who joins us this evening, and he is the technical leader and digital content architect at Heartlines. And we're going to be speaking about the 21st century father. The premise of the conversation was seeing this growth, this interest, this desire for fathers to be present. I mean, there were stats saying that over 75%, this was a global study looking at present fathers and their participation in their children's lives. And it's going beyond financial now. It's emotional, it's physical. It's them wanting to be part and parcel of the family, of the homestead. And so that is the conversation this evening. Andile, let's talk about your front. Firstly, welcome to the show. I feel like I shouldn't be saying welcome. In actual fact, you are welcoming me.
Yeah, welcome. welcome to Heartlines.
Absolutely. And so what we're going to start off by just highlighting and understanding is your position at Heartlines.
So I am the tech lead, which basically means our newest project. I've been running the WhatsApp side of it. And digital content architect is just a fancy way of saying all the communication that comes from the organization has passed through me at some point, and I design all the communications that we do. So whether it's for an event, post-event, or a newsletter, all that, I design that entire ecosystem.
And tell us a bit about Heartlines.
So Heartlines, the Center for Values Promotion, is an NPO that is focused on behavior change. Our aim is to move people from professed values to lived out values so that they can fix the things that are wrong. And currently our big drive is to try and encourage the positive presence of men in the lives of children.
Sure. And let's talk about those fines. I mean, I was reading on some global stats, these post-COVID, we're seeing an interest, an uptake, a buy-in from fathers wanting to be present for their children. I want to gauge what you have found in some of the research you've done.
So with the research we did just pre-COVID, one of the factors we discovered was a barrier to fathers being present in the lives of their children, and there's many, but one of them that was quite interesting to us was men lacked the confidence to be present because they lacked the skills. Sure. Historically, parenting has mainly been moved over to just mothers. And the father was just looked at as the breadwinner, the disciplinarian, and things like this. And we've seen fathers want a deeper relationship with their children, but they didn't know how to initiate such a relationship. In cases where maybe the child is young, a lot of men felt, I can't be present because I don't know how to change a diaper, I don't know how to make a bottle, and just the soft skills like that which can be learned. And so what we did is we sort of came up with something that assists fathers with those soft skills, that helps them to be present in a space where it's a private conversation between you and a friend.
Let's talk about the reception. The African homestead is quite the complex one. You think of teaching a father a trick or two, and for the most part, this is something that is felt to have been, it's supposed to be passed down from generation to generation, from your father to the next father, right? And so now you're introducing the system that has nothing to do with that lineage. Are we seeing an interest that is keen, especially from our African brothers, our South African brothers?
So I'll answer this in two ways. One, from the platform that we've built, we definitely see an interest in men asking questions like, how can I be a better dad? How can I be present for my children who's starting school? How can I help with homework? Or how can I stay connected to my children when I don't live with them? So from our platform, we are seeing there's a definite shift. But I think when we just look at the South African context, we are also seeing a cultural shift where we're moving away from men being just providers of finances. But they are now getting, I want to say they're getting their hands dirty. They're becoming a part of a child's life. And research has shown that if a father is involved in the first 1,000 days of a child's life, they're more likely to be involved throughout that child's life. And we are seeing a significant shift in men being present at birth, but also men trying to reconnect with their children. Maybe they were separated due to, different issues that can come up. And a lot of them are now coming and saying, how can I build a relationship with my children? How can I build a relationship with my child? And I think a significant part of that might actually come from the historic fact that children want relationships with their father. And so you have a lot of guys who grew up without their biological father or without a father figure in their lives. And they have told themselves, I won't do that to my own child.
Sure. I think what I find interesting is that this is not just a if you will, patriarchal view, because we tend to argue that the financial stability of a household is based on the premise of the patriarchal view, which is men are the workers, therefore they're the providers. It's also something we as women have embodied, right? To an extent, as much as we do see the need for the nurturing aspect of a man to be in the household, I think we punt more the financial need.
True.
And so how do we change that narrative?
It starts with conversations like these ones, where we highlight that a man is more than just a provider of finances, but the positive presence of a man has been seen to increase the good outcomes or the good outlook for a child. And so a child who grows up in a house with a father figure who is present, who is active, it's been discovered that they have better educational outcomes. They have a lower risk of substance use or substance abuse. They have a lower risk of being victims or perpetrators of violence, including GBV. And so when we begin to understand it from that perspective, we begin to see that the presence of a father or a father figure, because a lot of people may not have access to their father, and an uncle, a grandfather, an older brother steps into that role. That presence alone improves the outcomes or the outlook for a child. And it's not to say that without this it is a definite that all these negative outcomes will come upon them. It's not that. It's that it improves the probability of these good outcomes when there is a present active father or a father figure.
Let's talk about mental health.
Yes.
I think it's one thing to call on fathers and say be present, but like you said initially, that there is this bias. I'm not ready, I don't know how, I don't know what to do, I haven't been taught. Where's the state of men's mental health when it comes to parenting, in South Africa specifically?
I wouldn't quote me on this, but again, there's a lot of challenges that come along with fatherhood. And some of the research we've done in the 2 years we've launched our platform and we've looked at the questions is a lot of fathers ask around issues of anger that they feel towards their father. How do they prevent that from affecting their relationship with their own child? And so ultimately, a lot of men are waking up to the fact that they might have a wound they carry from how they were fathered or not fathered, and they want to avoid passing that on to to the next generation. And we're seeing an awakening of men just around mental health issues in general, but more so when it comes to emotional control, substance use. A lot of people do say that is one of the barriers that also prevents them from being with their children, that they feel they are abusing substances and they don't want to pass that on to their child or their child to see that as an example. But I think it always starts with that awakening moment, that moment of realization that, hey, I have a problem, I need help. And I think we're seeing a lot more of that now with the more access that men have to information and the more access we have to the circles where men are actually encouraged to, like, hey, come over, let a load off and let's talk.
Sure. The voice of Andile Maphosa joining us this evening, the technical leader and digital content architect at Heartlines. And he is not, of course, from this platform, but it's an absolute pleasure to host him this evening. And we are looking at the realities of present fathers, the growth, the interest, and of course, how we can accelerate the process. Andile, when we get back, I want to talk about conversations prior to fatherhood. Because I don't think you become a father when you have a child. I think this is something you're supposed to build. I mean, you think of women. We are nurtured into understanding that we are going to get married and we're going to need to take care of a homestead. Yet with men, I don't think the same sort of teachings are applied. And so we're going to be looking at that aspect of the conversation and so much more when we come from the break. Again, you can send through your questions. Find us on +27 63 406 9126.
Je, una jambo lolote akilini mwako? Je, una shauku kuhusu maswala muhimu? Na je, una maoni ambayo unataka yasikike? Kweli, hili jukwaa ni la kwako. Piga simu au tuandikie kwenda WhatsApp namba alama ya kujumulisha 2760552594 na tutakupigia simu.
Mtangazaji wa habari zetu za Afrika Kusini mjini Johannesburg.
Hivyo unaweza kuwa mshirika kwenye matangazo yetu. Sio mazungumzo tu, ni fursa yako ya kuchangia maoni yako na kushirikiana na jumuiya ya wasikilizaji wanaotamani mtazamo wako. Tufuate kwenye mitandao ya kijamii. Tembelea tovuti yetu www.channelafrica.co.za na uwe tayari kushiriki na kuchangia maoni yako kwenye Channel Africa. Channel Africa, mtazamo wa Kiafrika.
Africa, it's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K,
or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Tamo kutulibwanji ndi
Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. Enjoy the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Heartlines, connecting you with Africa's love culture into the night. On Channel Africa, the African perspective.
27 minutes after 10 p.m. Central African time, joining us in studio, Andile Maphosa, who is the technical leader and digital content architect at Heartlines. And of course, I feel like every time I say it, I want to say for our namesake. Then I'm like, Shayla, be professional. This is not the platform. However, we are discussing present fathers, and Heartlines has achieved, to an extent, a step forward with respect to preparing fathers for the homestead. And I wanted us to talk about fatherhood before the child, right? It's meant to be part of a culture. You know, it's not like I don't think it's a skill set.
Yeah.
You know, and I think looking at it from a skills point of view kind of limits the opportunity for connection. You want to do things right more than you want to connect.
Yes. If we just simplify it just down to the skills and the tasks, then it forgets the most important factor, which is relationship.
Yeah. So how do we prepare young men for the homestead? Because it's not something we speak about often.
True, and I think one of the challenges, like you said earlier, is that in South Africa, for instance, over 65% of children grow up in a house without a father. And so already we have broken down the possibility of certain things to be passed down from father to child.
Yes.
And so this is where I think we need the role of the people who step in as father figures. And so these are grandfathers, uncles, and people like that. And I think it would start there when we talk of in our communities. It starts with people stepping in as father figures and starting to shape a young man or the boy child, basically, from when they are young, and mentoring them, walking the journey of life with them at every stage of development. And I think when we start to do that, even in our own little circles or our own little pockets, when we start being the mentors that we never had or the mentors we wish we had, we can then start shaping the mindset of a young man who will eventually get married, eventually become a father, by showing them the way. Because a lot of times, you can say as much, but a lot of times we learn by seeing.
Yeah. I also do think that another form of education is storytelling.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so, unfortunately, we as the media play a very big role.
Yes.
In the nurturing of our homesteads. How many times on a screen do you see a mother, father, and children of your race depicted?
Yes.
How is your race depicted in front of a camera? And it's unfortunate because these stories tend to interest us.
Yes.
But they don't necessarily teach us the right thing.
They don't build us up in the right way. And like you said, rightly so, I think media plays an important part in starting to reshape the narrative that unfortunately media has actually created around the black family, the black father, and storytelling is quite key in that, and we do a lot of work around storytelling where we try and shape positive narratives. Our most recent film is called Playing Dad, and it shows a father staying behind with his child who's attending an ECD center, and it shows you the steps in the connection of their relationship, where at first he's struggling, but after a while he gets the hang of it, and he discovers that play is something that's not just for adults, but it can bring the child and the parent closer with each other.
Yeah. Let's talk about the offerings that Heartlines, the organization, need I say, offers. You have quite an array of offerings.
Yeah, so currently our biggest project is the one I'm talking about, where we try and encourage the positive presence of men in the lives of children, and we do that in a number of ways. Number one, we host workshops in and around the country. We have regional reps in each and every province, but we've built a tool on WhatsApp that functions as a dad helpline, which can encourage dads to be present, but also gives them the skills, the tips, and the tools that they need to be present for their child at every stage of their development. And lastly, it can answer any fathering related question that you might have in real time in a private conversation on WhatsApp. So it's like me WhatsApping you and you responding back to me. There's no one else who sees the messages. We see the messages in the back end, just to always do quality control and make sure that the responses you are getting are building and improving your task as a father, your presence as a father, and not doing anything that's harmful.
Question: Are these responses from AI?
Yes, they are AI. However, we've done quite a lot of work in building the safeguards around the AI. And so each response is AI generated. However, we have basically taught the AI how to respond, how to frame, and we've had to upload things like the Child Protection Act, but we've also built in safeguards around mental health issues as well, because we are not the psychologists, we are not the counselors, but there are people we can refer you to. So if you come on the platform, for instance, and you ask a question about grief, we'll answer your question, but then we'll also refer you to the specialists, but it also flags it with us so that we make sure that you do get the help that you need. And so there's always a person in the loop to ensure that everything is going the way it should.
Fair. And what are the cost implications for such? I mean, the WhatsApp conversation, of course, is your data dependent.
Correct.
But these services that you are now extending.
So if you go to our website, you can actually download quite a number of resources that we have for free. We have a YouTube channel which has got all our 7 films around positive presence of men in the lives of children, and each of them speaks to a different theme around fathering. And so those are available on our YouTube channel, which the name of the show is the name of our YouTube channel. And we've got discussion guides that go with those films. And so you can call your neighbor, call your friend group from church, your friend group from work, and watch the film and then have a discussion afterwards around the film, its depictions, but also around a theme around fathering.
Yeah. And Andile, do you mind me asking if you're a dad?
Yes, I am.
Have you found that there are groups, and by groups I don't mean from an organizational standpoint, I mean clusters in society that promote healthy fathering, that promote men coming together? More often than not, you'll see mothers come together.
Yes.
Right? Be it for coffee, be it for picnics, whatever the chat is. Your friend group consists of people with similar experiences. Whereas I've found with men, you can huddle together and you have nothing in common in terms
true.
of your settings. Have you seen that?
So it's an interesting mix, because in the one hand, we do have that happen where men will get together in their groups, but they don't discuss anything substantive. We don't open up in those circles. But in the same breath, we are seeing clusters of men who come together, and I know quite a number of them here in South Africa, where fathers will come together with their children. And so it's fathers coming together with their children and then having discussions around fathering, talking about some of the challenges they face, because fathering for many of us is something that is new, and being present as a father is a total cultural shift. Sure. And so we get together in these circles and we talk about life. We talk about the implication of a child on your marriage, for instance, the implications of a child on your social life, on your mental health, and all of these things. And there are clusters, there are places where this is beginning to happen. And our desire is to just see more of these clusters forming up. But I think one of the biggest challenges is always that it's not easy to get men to open up.
Sure. You see, now that poses a bit of a threat for development. Right? If we're saying that it's not easy, I would have thought that being in a circle with people of similar posture, you're all men, you perhaps all work in the same environment or you do the same thing, that there would be leeway for opening, right? Because we've had up-teen discussions where women are saying, men don't open up. You don't want to talk to us. You don't want us to help you. When you think of mental health issues and the rise of suicide on the front when it comes to men, is you then think to yourself, how can I help? Okay, but he doesn't want to talk to me. And then you assume, because we don't share, many life experiences in the same view, that perhaps men. What do you think it will take for men to open up? What is it that can at least have us put our foot on the door so you can see some sort of leeway?
I think the first thing we need to do is create spaces where men can relax.
Sure.
Men can take a load off.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes being a man comes with so many challenges, many of which we never speak about. And we long for those spaces where I can come in, I am not a husband, I'm not a father, I am just Andile. And when we can create environments like that, and one man takes that first step to say, hey guys, I'm not doing so well, you'll find that opens up other men, because most of the times the things we go through are different in nature but similar in principle. And so I may be facing a financial challenge which manifests in one way, and someone else is also going through a financial challenge which manifests in a different way, and the similarity is they're both financial challenges. And so when one opens up and you're like, oh snap, I can see myself in this guy's story, we build the bridge that can connect us. But it always takes, one, get us comfortable. Number two, have that one who's the catalyst to open it up. And oftentimes, when they're like, oh, but no one's going to open up, and it's like, no, you are the one who is there, which needs to open up the space to everyone else.
And what of accountability?
Well, ultimately, if you're creating a safe space, it has to be a safe space. And so everything that's discussed there can never be taken outside.
Yeah.
And then holding each other accountable. And so it's not, oh, yeah, it is what it is. But it's sometimes like, hey, maybe you're the problem. And sometimes men need to hear that from other men. To like, no, the issue isn't your wife, it's not your mom. No, the issue is you, and you need to make a certain decision. Easier at times coming from a man than coming from anyone else, because when it comes from a man, it's coming from a brother, someone who understands the context. Whereas if it's coming from someone else, it feels more like a burden.
Sure. Let's talk about that for a bit.
Sure.
What is it about, and I'm going to assume a woman, right? Because if it's coming from a man, it's more easy to receive. What is it about a woman placing some level of correction or guidance or counsel for a man that makes it feel like a burden?
It's the approach. The approach, I think. So, let me quote a scripture. It says, perfect love casts out fear.
Yeah.
And so when you do it in a way that a man hears and understands, most of the times we're great at listening, but we're not great at actually hearing what is being said. And so the way something is put across, it might come out innocently from you, but it's not taken the way you meant it to be taken.
Sure.
And so sometimes it's just a matter of you say something in correction, ask them, what did you hear? And then when they tell you what they heard, you can then turn around and say, no, that's not what I said. And then you begin to correct where they did not hear you properly.
And Andile, as we wrap up conversations, just before we get back into the coach on WhatsApp, let's talk about, I think, just sentiments around the homestead. When I started this conversation, just before you hopped on, my statement was, well, this is personal. This is my view, at least.
Okay.
Is that the rise of the African continent is not going to come from increasing our GDP, creating more jobs, sustaining ourselves financially. It's going to come from building the homestead first. If we want to see nations, the continent, the world flourish, we need to build the homestead. Do you see that happening with platforms such as Heartlines?
I see it happening, and I always say we do it one conversation at a time, one life at a time, one mind at a time. It's a very big, hairy, audacious goal, but we believe that we can change the state of fatherhood in South Africa, and by doing that, we're changing communities. By changing communities, we're changing cities, we're changing towns, and ultimately, we're changing the country.
I like that. Now, the Father Matter WhatsApp coach is on WhatsApp.
It's on WhatsApp.
Which most African countries have access to.
Yes.
So can they all text this WhatsApp coach?
Yes. So the easiest way to get started on the WhatsApp coach is to go on your browser on your mobile. It's always better on a mobile device. You just type www.fatherscoach.co.za. It will automatically open WhatsApp on your phone, pre-populate with the message that triggers the start of anything, which is hi. And when you send that hi, if you are registered, it will bring up the main menu, which will just say, how can I help you? And then it'll say, give me tips, answer my question. And so give me tips. We've got tips about being a father, which is basically tips for the man. Deals with mindset, it deals with mental health, it deals with reconnecting with children after a break, but it also deals with that wound I spoke about earlier, that father wound of how you were fathered. And then tips about your child. And so this is basically tips about your children, whatever age group they are in. When you register, we ask for your child as well as their date of birth so that we know their age range, and we've split it up according to age ranges. But if you cannot find anything within that menu of searchable content about your child, you can then ask the question to the coach and it will answer you right there and then.
Sure. Andile, this has been a pleasure. We are firstly commending you for the work that you do at Heartlines. We do hope to see this solution, this digital tool, if you will, be used efficiently across the continent. I think it's a necessity, it's a must. I have found that conversations with AI can be therapeutic.
They
can
can
be
be
very helpful as well. We don't talk about that much. But I do hope that outside it being a tool, that fathers are coming together.
Ultimately, that's our goal. When we have more groundswell, we want to actually create events of, hey, Dad, come and join other dads who have registered on the coach, and let's spend a day playing with our children. Let's spend a day bonding with our children. Let's spend a day. And this is something which I think oftentimes isn't mentioned enough, that, as a father who goes to the clinic with your child, people will look at you funny.
Oh.
Let's keep doing that as men. Let's keep showing up at the clinic with our children so that it becomes the norm. So that it's no longer, oh, where's the child's mother? But it's like, oh, the father's here, everything's good.
Sure. The voice of Andile Maposa joining us this evening, the technical leader and digital content architect at Heartlines, talking to us about the digital support tool called the Father Matters WhatsApp Coach, but also looking at the desire for fathers to be present in their children's lives outside finances, this being physical, emotional, being part and parcel of the child's life. And hopefully these are some of the platforms that can help us reunite and reestablish the homestead across the African continent. It is 45 after 10 p.m. Central African time. Andile, thank you so much for joining us. Let's get some music.
Africa, meet Abedi.
Yeah, that's me.
Abedi is a music lover through and through.
I really love African music.
He's got a taste for all kinds of tunes and spends his days listening to Channel Africa. Guess what? He didn't know.
Okay.
Channel Africa wants to help Abedi and all music lovers everywhere to discover even more incredible music. That is why Channel Africa is calling on all African musicians to submit their music. Musicians, remember to give us all your relevant information. Make your submissions at music@channelafrica.co.za. Submissions are your chance to be heard on radio. But sadly, they do not guarantee that you'll be playlisted. All submissions will be carefully reviewed to see if they meet our station's requirement. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802.
During this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much for
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John, Ambassador Mbongo has said he's going to second me during this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much.
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John, Ambassador Mbongo has said he's going to second me during this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much.
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John, Ambassador Mbongo has said he's going to second me during this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is
Central African Time, Bood alongside Rema, and that one titled Fikan We Can. Before that, Thames with Replay. Listen, from father to son this evening, we are focusing on men. And in the second hour of the show, we have an opportunity to dive into conversations concerning the boy child. How do we keep them safe? We have shared with you some of the stats where over 132 million boys globally are found out, or rather are found to be out of school. And in South Africa, boys are more likely to drop out than girls. We do know that the government and NGO efforts are being made across the continent. However, we want to find out how can we as citizens of the continent better state our boy child so that they can grow up to be the men we desire to see in society. That conversation comes your way in the second hour of the show. That's in over 8 minutes from now. If you want to send through your questions, please find us on WhatsApp. The number is +27 63406 9126, and we will be speaking to Lereko Mfono, who is the project coordinator at Heartlines.
We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet, Channel 628. 9 to 12 midday, Central African Time. On the move with Palisa Tau and Benjamin Mushatam.
Should influencers be expected to be impactful in society? If there is a social or societal conversation that goes up, should we be waiting eagerly to hear what the influencers have to say?
Are more than just entertainers. They are thought leaders to some certain degree. They influence culture, they influence people's thought processes, they set trends, they shape opinions of people. And the sad reality is, although a lot of them don't want to accept it, I think we're getting better with them realizing that embarking in that journey and in that space comes with a certain level of responsibility.
I see it differently in that, professionals are already good at their job, but there is an optionality that they might have to use the position that they hold in society to be able to deliver a message. This year you made the example of actors and actresses. So the same could apply to a sportsman. Just because someone's good at soccer doesn't mean that they have to have an influence over society from a specific standpoint.
Keeping you on the know and on the move. Africa's very own think tank. This is Channel Africa Online. www.channelafrica.co.za.
It's the kids, baby.
Jason Bulo. Hasimbaluma. Basikhohlwe ngenkinga. Sekubalisela.
Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than nighttime radio, just the way you like it, on Channel Africa, where the night comes alive.
Good morning, okay, baby, how you do? Sorry you're fine, gone singing this for you. My Sherry, tell me how you do. So mommy, okay, this one is for you. Oh yeah, Sherry, be a young girl, straight my lord. Oh yeah, be a young girl. Be a young girl, straight my lord. Oh yeah, be a young girl. Be a young girl. Oh yeah, wake up. Here's your tea. Oh yeah, drink up. You don't need the makeup. Them me vex, them won't make we break up. See, you be my princess. Stop for one, but together we make sense. Worry one knock out we no send. Check on my son nonsense. Take this ring, oh, be with me for better, for worse, oh. I go love you tomorrow, titi life forever beyond, oh. You know that I got you. Anything where you want, I go buy too. Oh yeah, be a young girl, surete my darling. Good morning, okay, baby, how you do? Sorry you're fine, gone singing this for you. My Sherry, tell me how you do. So mommy, okay, this one is for you. Oh yeah, be a young girl. Be a young girl, surete my darling. Oh yeah, be a young girl. Be a young girl, surete my darling. Oh yeah, be a young girl. Be a young girl. You go be catch, I go be JJ. If we born boy, it go be AJ. I am never good made. And if your love is a crime, I go jail. See from here to London, unwrap you, I lick you like Tom Tom. I go love.
During this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much.
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John Ambassador Mbongo said he's going to second me during this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about African solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we're saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have?
Heartlines, connecting you with Africa's love culture into the night on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
4 minutes after 11 p.m. Central African time. If you have just joined us, double play there, ending off there with Brimo, rather, with that one titled Good Morning. Before that, we had Komasava by Diamond Platinums alongside Jason Derulo, Khalil Harrison, and Clay. And of course, that being the remix. This is Heartlines, and today we are having a rather special Monday, the very last day of the month of June 2025, the 30th of June, and we are joined by Heartlines that states that one ought to live their values, change your world, get access to free resources, and of course, all of this to help you live out positive lives with a particular focus on fathers. Still joining us in studio is Andile Maphosa, who is going to be spending this evening with us, in actual fact, as we trot about conversations looking at men and just their position in society as fathers and as men, because we're going to be looking at the boy child at this moment. Andile is the technical leader and digital content architect at Heartlines, and we spoke about in the very first hour the digital tool noted as the Fathers Matter WhatsApp coach. But I'll have you know that this WhatsApp coach isn't just for men, right? Yes. We have the option for mothers and we have the option for father figures. I was going to say, you must have an option for us who are looking to get there. Not yet mothers, still looking.
You can still come on. I'm sure you're an aunt.
Yeah, but that is not an option.
Check father figure or check mom.
Okay. Let's continue this conversation looking at the boy child. Just a few stats that came out that for me made me realize that we've covered so much content on the girl child, and rightfully so, that it's almost as though we've forgotten that before man there's a boy that needs the very same level of affection, attention, care, mentorship. And I don't know if I think it would be misleading to say that there isn't a focus on boys, but we do need to hearken more onto that reality. What is your take on that?
I think I agree with you. I'm not sure who said it or how they said it, but they said it's easier to raise up a good child into a man than to fix a broken man. And I think unfortunately at the moment what we are trying to do is fix men who are broken. And we should try and fix them, yes, but we should also make sure that we nurture the young man to grow up to be a good man. And sadly, it hasn't taken the center stage. It's sort of been put on the back seat as we try and empower the girl child, which rightly we should, but we shouldn't do it at the expense of the boy child, because when that boy becomes a man, he meets an empowered woman. And he can't handle an empowered woman.
Sure. Another way the homestead is not being attended to correctly.
Exactly.
Let's talk about some of the work that Heartlines has done for the boy child. I know there's quite a bit initiatives with universities, of course, in partnership. I know that there are some movies you've pieced together and you've taken to communities to sort of have the conversation on value systems. Let's look at that for a moment, those movies and how they affect communities?
So I think when talking about the boy child, the biggest thing we've done for the boy child is try, and as our Fathers Matter campaign tries to do, it tries to encourage the positive presence of men in the lives of children. Why? Because we've done some work in correctional facilities, and when you talk to the guys there, a lot of them will tell you that I grew up in a fatherless home. And so we could start off right there. Some of the things that we're doing for the boy child is making sure that they have a father figure or their father present in their lives, not just, later on in life, as is the case most of the times, where the father is hands off, but when discipline is needed, that's when he comes hands on. But we're now trying to encourage fathers to take a more active role in the lives of their children. And so it's not just necessarily just for the boy child, it's for all children. But the boy child can definitely benefit from a present, active, and positive father. And we've done some work with Stellenbosch University. We worked with their football team, and we've managed to get them to relook at their fathers and their role as fathers, which is the twofold relationship there, that most times we father the way we were fathered. And sometimes that means we're fathering from a place of disadvantage. We're fathering from a place of brokenness. And we first need to try and address that little father wound so that we can help you show up as the father you want to be.
Yeah.
And so these are some of the things that we've been doing to sort of promote the boy child, but not just the boy child.
That is fair. I want to touch on, and I think for me this is something that stands out when it comes to the boy child. You said you have had experiences with working with children who are not on the best side of the law.
Correct.
Right? And one thing that you did make mention of as we were talking off air is how they turn to gangs for comfort and identity and belonging. Let's touch on that for a moment. The sad reality of not having a present father and how this affects the identity of the boy child, and also just some of the, if you will, coping mechanisms that the boy child will use.
So, and again, don't quote me as a study on this, but just in the work that we've done, you might find an instance where my father was in a gang. And so I came up around gangs. It's normal for me. This is what I know. And the gangs, they give you identity. They give you a place to belong, especially in this time where, again, we say the boy child, his development is sort of overlooked. And so he grows up feeling neglected, grows up feeling wanting to belong somewhere.
Yeah.
And sadly, they might find that solace or that belonging in a gang, because in gang culture, generally, you are a family. Right? There is a leader, a father figure, who sort of rules with the iron fist, and that's who they aspire to. And so that's, I think, the lure of gangs and gang culture that gives them a place to belong, gives them, in quotes, protection, because, you touch one, you've touched all, and things like that. But sadly, they never see that the end of it is never really a good place. And sometimes, again, with the work we've done with young people in conflict with the law, sometimes that aha moment is sadly when they're in prison.
Sure. Let's talk about what the boy child needs. And I think that's a bit of a stretch to phrase it that way. But I want to look at perhaps some of the things we have misunderstood as society. Right. I think there is a communication barrier between men and women generally because of the way we think and the way we perceive life. And I think when you mentioned the fact that fairly 65% of the, I suppose, household has one parent, and that would usually be a mom.
Correct.
Right. And so my thinking is that if we have 65 of the populace being raised by mothers we don't necessarily understand the boy child. Perhaps let's talk about what the boy child needs, what it is, how they can become better men, even though they are in the context of just their mother's care, how mothers can be more fitting for their children in that state, and how perhaps father figures can also bring about that sense of fatherhood. And I'm taking this as an example for a man who thinks, I can't be a father figure. I don't know what it is to raise a child. I've never experienced it. I'm going to be that fun uncle. I'm going to come and I'm going to spoil you and then disappear. And then I'll come back and do the same thing, because that's something that we have popularized in society. And so maybe understanding some of the necessities for a boy child will better equip us as a community.
I think the first thing, and this is always difficult when I say it, is a mother shouldn't try and be the father. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
There are certain dynamics that they wouldn't understand. Sure. And in the instance where maybe there isn't a present biological father, this is where you open up, or you give men access to the child, but you don't just give any man. No, someone who can be a positive role model for the child. That's quite key. And I think one of the biggest things that a lot of young boys lack is mentorship. It's just someone who is going to go before them and help show them the way. This is something which historically would be there, but in a different context. And now we're saying, okay, let's take that idea and let's bring it into the century that we live in now, where manhood isn't just about, or masculinity isn't just about, muscle, power and patriarchy, but it's more holistic, where you can be a strong man and still show kindness. You can be a strong man and be gentle. You can be a strong man and still play with children. You can be a strong man and love your spouse. You can be a strong man and love your family. You can be a person who brings the discipline, but brings it in a way that is loving. So we need men who are actually going to role model this for our young boy. That will give them a better idea of masculinity, where it's not toxic, but it's more beneficial and balanced.
Sure. Maybe let's define a strong man. What is a strong man?
I would define a strong man in a weird way. It's two opposites living in one. Okay. Someone who can be a lion when needed, but also a lamb when needed. Someone who can strike the balance that is necessary. And notice, I haven't in any way just reduced it to a man as someone who can go out and provide. Because provision isn't just about money.
Yeah.
A man can provide balance. A man can provide discipline. There's so many other things, which is why I always like the lion and the lamb example, because the lion is the strength, but the lamb is the gentleness. And so having both of these two different things, which are polar opposites existing in one, to bring out a balanced person. That's my definition of a strong man. A man who knows when to be strong, but also knows when to show weakness.
Sure. I think as you are describing the strong man, I'm thinking if we as communities have given this boy child an opportunity to become that person, and not just by virtue of there being a present father figure, but us as women being healed enough to take care of these boys. Because more often than not, some of the issues in the homestead is that we will have mothers projecting onto the child because of the father's leaving, or because of the argument on the father. And so the son will sort of take on a frame. And this is part of a study that I saw that was conducted in Zambia that said that the boy child will take on more of the responsibility and they will be less cared for. And I feel like to an extent that is a projection. And so perhaps this is an opportune moment for us to step back in women and say, what do we need to heal from so that we can raise the boy child? Your thoughts?
Drop your mic. I think the truth is we all need healing.
Yeah.
Not just the women, even the men. Some of the men, they need to find healing for themselves.
Sure.
They need to forgive themselves for some of the mistakes that they made. And the women would need to stop projecting their hurt onto their kids. Or the relationship didn't work out. It didn't work out not because of the child. And so don't talk negatively about the other parent to the child, because that in and of itself is creating that environment where, number one, the child will grow up like, okay, my mom said this, but I discovered my dad was totally different. And so that anger may unfortunately want to be released on other women later on. And so let's all take a step back and let's all heal first so that we can be better parents, not just for the girl child, but also for the boy child, because I think that's what's needed. A stable household for the boy child to thrive in as well.
Yeah. There was another study that spoke to South Africa that said an estimated 80% of boys lack positive role models and mentoring programs. Your take?
They hit the nail on the head. I think we need new heroes. We need heroes who we can relate to. Heroes who are not so far away, far removed from us, but heroes within our communities. And I believe these heroes exist. I think one of the challenges is when they come to the young person, they don't realize that actually this is a good man, because the idea they have in their head and what they see is two different things. We definitely need people to step up, because the truth is, even though you might feel I'm not mentoring anyone, there's a young person looking at you, there's a young boy looking at how you act and thinking that that's the standard of manhood. And the question then becomes, what standard are we setting, or what standard is each individual setting when young people will look at them as the standard for masculinity? I think that removes the onus from being an external thing to being the more internal thing. Like, am I doing the right thing? I know no one might have ever come to me and said, oh, will you mentor me? But someone is looking at me. What are my actions showing them?
Sure. And in your own personal experiences, Andile, I think working with Heartlines is my focal point. What are some of the highlight stories that you could share with us where you have seen boys be encouraged by the father figures? And I specifically want to draw attention to that What's Your Story, where you get to know your father's story.
Yes. So What's Your Story is a project that we started up in 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
And the ultimate aim of it was get to know people around you one level deeper. And so we've taken that concept and said, hey, get to know your father deeper. And so this is something that I've done. So my father was present, but he was distant. And so one time I sat down with him and I was like, hey, Dad, let's talk. Tell me how you grew up. Tell me where you grew up. And as he began to share his story, I began to understand him differently. I began to see him differently, because I understood that his idea of what a father is was based on what his father was to him, which for the time period that he grew up in was sufficient, but for the time period I grew up in, it wasn't as sufficient. And it gave me a lot of empathy for my father. And so when you ask what are some of the success stories, I'll be like, I am one. I have seen my father differently. I see him in a whole different light. I begin to judge him not by his actions but by his intentions, which is the problem, because most of the times we judge others by their actions and not their intentions, but we judge ourselves by our intentions and not our actions. And so I've learned how to write that. And it's not like an overnight thing. It's a process where you get closer to your father, you have more conversations with your father. I am still going through that process, and it's been a wonderful process, because now, as a father myself, I have to remember that I was fathered in a certain way, but I will have to show up differently for my child. But the understanding of my father helps me to also show up differently for him.
Sure. And when you reflect on the conversations that you had with your dad, was he receptive to the change? Because this is not just a development on your end. This is for him too different. His son is no longer perceiving him through his actions. He wants to know about him. He wants to know his intentions. And that can be uncomfortable sometimes.
I think as a man who grew up in the silent dad culture, it definitely is a big shift for him. And to his credit, he's doing his best to open up those lines of communication and things like that. And we can't expect to undo a lifetime of conditioning in just one conversation. It's something that needs to be reinforced, and we work at it constantly, consistently. But what I do love is how I see him showing up for his grandson. That is so beautiful. They play together. When my dad visited the last time, he was teaching him how to do the uppercut, and my son loves the uppercut now. And I'm just like, you know what? That's who I might have wanted, but I'm glad that he still gets the opportunity to be that even now, even though it's not with me, but it's with his grandchild. But that's okay. I think he's also getting another lease on this whole fatherhood thing.
Sure. And lastly, and my hope is that this will be heard by a boy child who will hear it tomorrow or some other day, because we are live on YouTube. We're hoping that they're not up at this very hour. But if for the boy child who is going to tune in and is thinking to themselves, I don't know what it is I'm feeling, but I feel a lot of pain. I feel a lot of hurt. I don't know where to turn to. I don't know who to speak to. And I am, to an extent, supposed to be accountable, not just for myself, but for other people's feelings. Whereas I don't think I'm receiving the same level of care, if you will, or attention or affection. What would you say to them?
Seek out someone older than you, someone who you can look up to as a source of good advice, and go sit at their feet and just say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. Can we have the conversation? I think it starts there. I think a lot of people are already like that. They know something's wrong, but they don't know what exactly is wrong. And I think this is where the father figures in our communities come in. This is where the grandfathers come in. This is where, the churches come in. Our religious bodies are meant to come in this type of situation, because this is how we stop someone from joining a gang, by answering that deep question they have on the inside of what is wrong, how can it be fixed. And sometimes what is wrong is, it's okay that you feel that way, but there is a community around you that is also cheering for you, that wants you to do well. I think knowing that there are people who want you to succeed just changes your general outlook and approach to most other things, because oftentimes, and it's sad that, growing up, you get to hear these hurtful things like you're a failure and things like that, and sometimes you begin to live up to that. And so having someone who's going to speak positive into your life, that I believe in you, I believe you will succeed, I believe in your ability to succeed. And if it's coming from a father figure, great, but imagine that coming from a father. I believe you can make it. I believe you can succeed. I think it changes just the whole mindset of a child, especially a boy child.
Sure. I think you sort of ended off by speaking to the father, who's listening, let's give him a full address as well. If he's tuned in right now, and of course he took in the last ounces of what it is you're saying, let me be positive, but he too feels like if I'm kind and if I'm soft, my son becomes soft and then doesn't cope in this very dark, cold world. What would you say to him?
Understand what your child needs at each different stage of life. If you are too hard on him, he learns how to be hostile. If you're too soft on him, he won't develop what we call a backbone. And so understand the different stages of development of your child's life, and then know how to show up in those different stages. And something as simple as play wrestling is teaching your son motor skills, but it's also giving them a bit of grit, a bit of just endurance, having fun like that. And so understand who your child needs at the different stages and try your best to show up as that.
Sure. Andile, we have kept you longer than we should, but this is where our conversation comes to an end. Again, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been a pleasure. I think you have spoken and shed so much light over conversations where people had a question mark and were willing to leave it at the question mark because it's more comfortable.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I've had so much fun.
The voice of Andile Maphosa, joining us this evening, the technical leader and digital content architect at Heartlines. A twofold conversation in the very first hour. We spoke about the Father's Matter WhatsApp coach. We spoke about the interest that's growing midst fathers looking to be present in their children's lives. And then in the second hour, we focused on the boy child and how to equip our environment so that they too can thrive. It is 29 after 11 p.m. Central African time. This is Heartlines, not the organization, just the show. Thank you so much for choosing us over the rest.
Heartlines. Taking you into the night with love stories, fresh music, and inspiring voices from across Africa.
Fallait Hippopa DiCaprio à merveille.
During this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much.
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John Ambassador Mbongwe said he's going to second me. During this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much for
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John Ambassador Mpongwe said he's going to second me during this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much for
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John Ambassador Mpongwe said he's going to second me during this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much for
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John Ambassador Mpongwe said he's going to second me during this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much for
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John Ambassador Mbongwe said he's going to second me during this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much.
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John Ambassador Mbongwe said he's going to second me during this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much.
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John Ambassador Mbongwe said he's going to second me during this Africa.
It is 41 minutes after 11 p.m. Central African Time. Sona Jabarta with that one titled Seya. Before that, we had Fali Ipupa alongside Kofi Olomide with Coco Co. Welcome to it. If you have just joined us, Heartlines, 19 minutes to go. And we're just going to take some time to reflect on the conversations that have been. We started off with the focal point being on fathers and just looking at fathers beyond breadwinners. And this, of course, looking at the rise of present fathers. Now, in a world reeling from last week's reports of rising youth violence in South African schools, one question echoes loudly: where are the fathers? We had an opportunity to explore the 21st century dad and watch them step in, not just as providers, but as emotionally present, nurturing, and supportive figures. Now, while traditional roles once confined fathers to discipline and income, a new generation is changing the game. They are not doing it alone. And so we had with us in studio the technical leader and digital content architect at Heartlines to unpack the powerful new tool dubbed the Fathers Matter WhatsApp Coach. And this is a digital support system helping fathers show up more intentionally in their children's lives. However, what's interesting about this platform is that it's not just for fathers, father figures, mothers. In actual fact, I believe everybody. If you are to an extent a caregiver of someone who is younger than you, then this platform is for you. From daily motivation to you asking the most personal questions, this platform availed to you on WhatsApp. Okay, so you don't need to go and download a separate app. No. On WhatsApp, you can find all this information. And so we spoke about that in the very first hour. And then we continued conversations with Andile. And in the second hour, we looked at the boy child, in actual fact. And one could deem that the boy child is forgotten. Now, while millions rally behind the girl child empowerment, and rightfully so, there is a silent crisis unfolding in our schools, our homes, and our communities. The neglect of the boy child. Across Africa, the boy child is expected to be the head of the household. Now, this isn't predominantly in every context. I know that if we look at certain stats, the girl child will need to drop out of school to take care of the family, as she is deemed the nurturer and the caregiver of the home. And so it fluctuates from country to country, city to city, if you will. However, there is that crisis that we were addressing in the second hour, looking at the realities that over 132 million boys are out of school. And in South Africa, boys are more likely to drop out of school than girls and suffer in silence. And of course, then looking at the potential for support systems and how fathers also play their role in this conversation as well. And so we also took a look at IDing a strong man. I think that for me was one of the highlights, being able to be the lion and the lamb, as Andile addressed. And so we had that conversation in the second hour. You want to share your thoughts and views? You want to catch up on the show that was? Please head over to YouTube. Channel Africa is the channel. And what you then do is look for the hashtag Heartlines, and you will be sure to catch those two conversations. Share your thoughts and views there. If not, find us on WhatsApp +27 6340 69126 15 before the show comes to an end.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802.
To the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much.
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution, and John Ambassador Mbongwe said he's going to second me during this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much.
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution, and John Ambassador Mbongwe said he's going to second me during this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much.
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution, and John Ambassador Mbongwe said he's going to second me during this Africa Month. And we paid attention to the fact that we've got a very good opportunity to place on the global agenda various matters of concern to us because of this situation with regard to the G20.
President Becky, you have helped us move from the general to the specific. When we talk about Africa solutions for African problems, what does that mean? It has become a saying that we are saying daily. Everyone is saying this statement. What exact actions do we have to do as private sector, as government, even as NGOs? So thank you so much.
It is important and critical that when government puts together policies and frameworks on business, that it involves business itself. Business policies cannot be drafted and be expected to be implemented by business without business not having been involved.
And because of that, we, the Tanzanian business community, decided that we are going to rally the whole continent. I think if we took that resolution, I'm moving it as a resolution. And John Ambassador Bongo said he's going to second me during this Africa Month.
Before the show comes to an end, Oliver Mtukudzi in this one titled Shanda, taking us to Zimbabwe. If you've just joined us, Heartlines does draw to a close. However, Morris Touch is on the other side, broadcasting live from Zimbabwe, Bulawayo, and he's going to be keeping us abreast with what's going to be happening on the Afro Republic. Morris, good evening to you. Welcome to Heartlines. What's happening on the show?
Good evening, Shayla. How was your weekend?
Listen, eventful. I have stories to tell, but I'm going to do that through social media. I don't want to chow too much on airtime, but it was fantastic. I had so much fun. Your weekend?
My weekend was fantastic. Laid back. Something to write home about as well. Okay. So we had a good weekend, I must say, both of us. Beautiful song you were playing there, Shanda, Oliver Mtukudzi. Great song indeed, you know. If I had time, I'll tell you, give you the background of the song. But anyway, we'll do that some other time. Thank you very much. We've got a laid-back Monday. I am glad that you started with that song, and the pattern of our show today resonates very well with that type of sound. And it's laid back. It's your jazzy, your soulful type of music. We are starting a brand spanking new month, the second half of the year 2025. And the question is, when you look at 2025, would you say it's been good to you? Can you sit down and say, so far, so good? Or you are still in that space where you are saying, I will get there. It will definitely, the sun will definitely rise on me. That's the question. That's the conversation that we're having.
In actual fact, Morris, what we can do is tomorrow reflect, when I do come back, reflect on that conversation and how it was answered among the very many that will be tuning into the Afro Republic. Thank you so much for joining us. You take over in the next 6 minutes. Please do have some fun on the show.
Thank you very much, Shayla. Thank you. Greatly appreciate.
It is 6 minutes before the show comes to an end. Morris Touch of the Afro Republic. He keeps you company between midnight and 3 a.m. in Central African time. From the team and I, it has been an absolute pleasure. Until we meet again, please do take care.
Heartlines bring you fresh perspectives about love after dark with Shayla Dukley.